a judge in Texas temporarily blocking the state's pre-Roe v. Wade ban on abortion from taking effect on Tuesday. The order is separate from the trigger law that will take hold in roughly 2 months. A state law passed in 2021 making abortion illegal upon Roe being overturned. This comes just one day after a judge in Louisiana temporarily blocked their trigger law. Joining me right now, constitutional attorney and member of the Supreme Court Bar, Mark Smith. Mark, great to have you. Thanks very much for being here.
Good morning, Maria.
So what are your thoughts here?
Well, I think what we're seeing is judges that are engaged in really just making sure there's an orderly transition from the Roe v. Wade era to the post-Roe v. Wade era. Remember, a lot of these laws have criminal penalties, not just for the physicians. And I think a lot of doctors who are performing these abortions are looking at these sort of conflicting laws. For example, even the trigger law assumes when exactly does that get triggered. And it sounds like a simple question, but in some ways it's a little bit less simple because although we have an opinion that says Roe v. Wade has been overturned by the Supreme Court, when does that go into effect? Usually a law, a court opinion goes into effect when it's, there's a final judgment, which is a separate piece of paper, which we don't think has been filed just yet. So the bottom line is that these judges in Louisiana and Texas are really doing the orderly thing. They're making sure the transition is smooth and that to the extent doctors are concerned what they can and cannot do, because if they get the law wrong, they could go to prison, and they don't want that. And the courts are basically saying, look, we're going to give you a few weeks to get your house in order, transition away from this into the new world. And it's really sort of common sense that these courts are applying. It's not a permanent injunction. It's just a few weeks to allow for this transition to take place and for any legal really legal, niceties to get cleaned up. Yeah, well, let's face it. Abortion is going to be totally available in many big states. Like, look at New York when Andrew Cuomo wrote into law that you can get an abortion up until birth. Remember that a few years ago? So we know where New York is going. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, it's what the Supreme Court really decided in Dobbs is to say, look, we, the Supreme Court, are getting out of the abortion business. We never should have been in this space. We should have let the states decide it because that's who it should be. And if you think about it for a moment, Maria, you have 9 unelected judges on the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. They're protested all the time. And the reality is those protesters should not be talking to unelected judges. They should be standing out front of state legislatures that actually make the decision. Yeah. And I think what's kind of ironic here is the politicians, I think, actually kind of like the fact that the Supreme Court took the heat on this issue because the politicians didn't have to make decisions. Now, politicians all across the country have to take a position, and their position in this instance will actually matter because they're going to have to vote on whether or not to loosen abortion restrictions or to tighten them. Right. The new watchword for the Democrats right now is legitimacy. They're trying to question the legitimacy of the Supreme Court. So you're spot on. They actually like all of this around this. But, Mark, you say that the next big opinion to come from the Supreme Court will be West Virginia versus the EPA. Tell us about that one. Sure, this is a potentially huge case for all of America, including American business, because in West Virginia versus EPA, it speaks directly to the power of unelected bureaucrats in all these agencies across the country, in particular, of course, the federal agencies. It speaks to the powers of the FDA, the EPA, the ATF. These administrative agencies that are run by, again, unelected bureaucrats are mostly unaccountable to elected officials and to we the people. That's right. And the Supreme Court has decided in this case to what degree that they're going to cut back on the powers of these unelected bureaucrats to lord over us. The EPA case specifically deals with whether or not, the EPA's regulations are effectively statutes that never got blessed by Congress or any elected official for that matter. Yeah, and that reminds me of OSHA and how Joe Biden forced OSHA to make a decision on a vaccine mandate. That was another one where Joe Biden took the matter into his own hands going around Congress. And let me bring in my panel here because, Lou, you could also look at the Securities and Exchange Commission. Yep. Okay, look at the SEC with its new rules for all public companies that they have to come up with all the risks of climate change
change for the company, the customers,
It's Sarbanes-Oxley in a different form, and even worse because it introduces a ton of regulatory risk and cost. I mean, I'm sitting on a board of directors for a medical device company that has no impact or direct connection to anything in the ESG space, yet we have to worry about this coming down the pike. And that's the unintended consequences of just foolish, unelected officials making policies that impact real businesses, real people, and you bear a cost. And then ultimately that gets pushed onto the consumer.
And it's creating more sand in the gears of economic growth, Mark, because this is creating new costs, bureaucracy for companies that have to now follow rules from the Securities and Exchange Commission as they make believe they're the EPA.
That's right. Regulations are indeed taxes because it costs money to comply with them. And what makes it particularly bad with these regulatory agencies is in many instances, not only do they make up the law, but they also get to decide whether you and your company violated the law. And if you violated the law, they basically get to be the executioner and decide what the penalty is. So it's these agencies have far too much power, especially given the fact that there's really no real oversight by the elected branches,
right,
by politicians. At the end of the day, we should be able to vote on these questions, but instead the politicians don't want to do that. They want to delegate to these unelected people that they can blame, and they don't get the heat if something goes wrong because it's not their fault. It's the EPA's fault or some other agency's fault.
All right. We will watch the West Virginia case and the Supreme Court decision there. Mark, great to have you this morning. Thank you, sir.
Thanks again.